Good one.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to TecSocial. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm really, I can't put in words how excited I am to have Peter here. I've known Peter for many years, and we've mostly talked by phone. I have seen him in Halifax at a few events. And I'm thrilled that he's finally here in Sydney for TecSocial tonight and for Startup Cape Breton 3.0 tomorrow. When I asked him if he would like to speak, of course, everybody likely knows Peter because he runs a blog called Entrevestor.com. And he does the Entrevestor Intelligence Report. There are a few around the room for you to take home with you tonight. When I asked Peter to speak, he said, well, I'm basically a two-trick pony. I talk about the data that we collect for Entrevestor, or I talk about communications. And he said, and I'm talking about the data at Startup Cape Breton. So you have not a big range of choice. So, however, I do know that Peter is a master communicator, and I follow his blog daily, and I really enjoy the stories that he does. And I think I'm really pleased that you're here to share some wisdom with us tonight on startup communication. So I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks very much for all of you for coming tonight. I don't know if you're all familiar with Entrevestor. We publish daily news on startups across Atlantic Canada. We are always interested in your stories. We are fascinated by what's going on here in Sydney and the surge in company formation that there's been. If you take our latest Entrevestor Intelligence Report, which is the one with the bars on the cover, you'll see we have an article on Sydney, the fastest growing startup hub in the region, with this handsome fellow, which we put into several copies. And I'd like to invite all of you to leave your email address on our homepage so you get our daily updates. There's so much going on in Atlantic Canada right now. We're having trouble keeping up with all of it, but we're publishing 2 or 3 stories a day now. When I started 4 years ago, I promised our backers, such as Innovacorp, that we do at least a story a week plus briefs, a string of briefs whenever we can put them together. And because the founders, the ecosystem have evolved so much that we're just doing so much more. I've been a journalist for more years than I would like to mention. How's that?
That's great. Thank you.
And I've got a bit of a passion about the way startups communicate their story. And storytelling is really a big, it's a new trend, really, a new fad, a new craze in startup world. If you want to interest people, tell your story. What is there about what you do that's interesting and impressive? But beyond that, you have to be able to communicate the nuts and the bolts of what you do if what you do is going to have any sort of success. Let me tell you what I mean. I was talking to a guy called Chris Arsenault a few years ago. He is one of the co-founders of Innovia, one of the major VCs in Montreal. And I asked him how often a company looks good and they might make it, but when you listen to the pitch, you didn't quite get, they didn't quite explain why anyone should care, why it was interesting, why it was going to make it. And he said, it doesn't happen half the time, but it's almost half the time. So in half the cases that Innovia is pitched, or almost half, there's something there, it might be interesting, but the founders did a really lousy job of explaining it. And if you're not in a position to really communicate what it is you're doing, even if you are in a position, even if you have the technology, the workforce, everything you need to change the world, quote unquote, you're going to find it difficult to do because you have to communicate what it is you're doing. When you are communicating, you've got to keep in mind the people who you want to reach. And I express that as a series of concentric circles. At the very center, you've got the people on your own team. And communication with them is absolutely essential. Then as you move out further, you've got your investors, you've got your customers, and you've got your community. And let's take those one at a time. I might add, I have delivered this seminar over 2 hours at Dalhousie. Bob's giving me 15 minutes. So within, yeah, you owe him a lot. Everyone should know the elevator pitch. And all of your communication to everyone starts with that elevator pitch. If you put out a press release, at the end of it, it will say about ABC Corp or whatever your company is. And that first sentence should be what you say to the guy across the room when you meet him. Hi, I'm Joe from XYZ Corp. What we do is this. And you've got about 10 words that convey what you do. Some people want it to convey everything you do. That's probably going to be so broad that it's meaningless. We help companies stay in touch with their customers. That just does not mean anything. Your elevator pitch, your single 10-word sentence should state what is distinctive about your company. Your staff have to know what the elevator pitch is. In the early stages, that 1 or 2 sentence pitch is going to change regularly. Everybody has to be up to date on what that change is. And from the companies I've met, if everyone doesn't agree on what that 2-sentence description is, you've got problems beyond communications. It means that people have different conceptions of where the company is going, what the company is doing, and it really should be sorted out ASAP. Everybody should know the company's values, the missions, the milestones that you're after. And all of your communication to the broader world will emanate from what people understand within the company. When you meet your investors, you've got to keep in mind that they are interviewing you and you are interviewing them. You know, again, I'm basing this on companies that I've met, companies I've talked to. Make sure when you meet your investors, it's an exchange of information to make sure everyone is comfortable with it. What you're looking for them is probably their network, and it is, you're looking for equity or debt or a combination of the two. And the words equity and debt are really fundamental in what you are after. I'll return to them later. Never stretch the truth. Don't do it with the media, don't do it with your customers, really don't do it with investors. Credibility is absolutely honest. I suppose that's obvious. Thank them if they reject you, which they probably will. It's just the way the relationship is. Don't take it personally. It's just the way it is. Your pitches begin with a 60-second pitch and build on it. Try to find out what the investor is looking for. Does he want 20 minutes? Do they want 30 minutes? Do they want 5 minutes? You can probably get an idea from the website or talking to somebody in the organization before you go to see them. Your pitch deck. There's Guy Kawasaki's 10, 20, 30. 10 slides, 20 minutes, nothing, no fonts less than 30 points. Beware of jargon in all your communications. There is so much written by people in the tech community, spoken by people in the tech community, or the startup community, that is filled with language that only people in the tech community understand, that it looks acceptable. But so many people in the Atlantic Canadian startup community are looking for money from angels, people outside the tech world, that it really helps your cause to be able to explain things without using jargon that only tech people understand. I cannot emphasize that enough. And run through your pitch with people who are not familiar with your product or the market that your product is in, especially if you're meeting with people who've made their money in construction or medicine or something like that. Tell them how it's going to change the world. Tell them your ambitions. At the same time, keep a lid on it. Keep things in perspective. When you're talking to your customers, the best way to reach your customers is through the media that they read, or that they view. And that's going to differ depending on the business you're in. It could be that you are after the Halifax Chronicle Herald or the Cape Breton Post because they are the ones that your clients are going to be reading. It's also, completely possible that your clients are, looking at or read Vacuum Cleaner Monthly. They could be reading trade magazines. There's a bit of a trend within the startup world to try to get in TechCrunch, try to get in Tech Vibes, try to get in publications like that. But if you do that, you're really going after other founders, other coders, other people who reach those publications, when really the people you want to be reaching are the publications that your customers are interested in. No matter what business you're in, if you can get in a major US publication, there's nothing else like it. That would be the New have you taken a company like mine, have you placed it in a magazine or a newspaper or a television station that I want to get into? If not, be wary. Always ask what they're charging. And be careful, because there's a lot of people in the field that can talk a lot of crap. There are also people that can do your company an awful lot of good. Mark Cuban says never get PR. I wouldn't say that at all. There are some good people there. Press releases. The first paragraph of your press release should say who, what, where, why, and when, or as many of them as possible, without making it just a dog's breakfast of a sentence. If I am a newspaper editor and click on a press release. I should know instantly what it's about, what's happening, when and where, and why. Actually, the why should be in the second paragraph. The second paragraph should say, you should care about this because. Not quite in those words, but don't assume anybody is going to understand why your press release is important. Tell them about it. It is so easy as a newspaper guy to delete a press release. Make sure they know immediately why they shouldn't do it. This is not the place for colorful prose. Nothing infuriates me more than getting a press release and somebody's trying to show that they can write magnificent, flowery English. Give the facts, say why it's important. Proofread it again, get someone else to proofread it, get another person to proofread it. Okay? There should be no typos in it. Don't make it too long. If you send out a press release, if it is important enough to send out a press release, it's important enough for you to be around to handle phone calls from journalists. I know you're laughing at that. It's so infuriating to get a press release to decide to cover it, so you phone the person and they're not there. They've got their busy day schedule. They figure I'll phone the reporter at 5 as I'm going. Except the reporter wants to be going then as well. If it's important enough to send it out, make sure you're available to take the calls. The community. What is your community? My community is going to be different than your community, which is going to be different than your community. There'll be your customers, there'll be your funders, there'll be the government agencies that you are involved in. It may be the people in your neighborhood, your family and friends who are interested in what you're doing in your own well-being. Give a think to who you want to reach, what the best way is to reach them. If you're doing business in Atlantic Canada, government is probably part of your community. Make sure you keep on good terms with government. Make sure you know who your case officer is. It is wonderful to give them a call periodically and say, let's get a coffee. I just want to update you on how we've been doing. The last thing they want to do is to be told, I need money, I need it in the next 6 weeks or we're going to go under. And as one government official explained to me, I have to make decisions based on quality of management. And if somebody says that to me, then I have big problems with the quality of management. And if you have retained or got government money or support in any way from government, just give them a call a year later. Get together with them for a coffee. Explain to them how they have helped grow your business, what you're doing, and maybe we'll talk again in a year's time. It does immeasurable good for your company. Learn what your competitors are doing. Learn how you can let your competitors know what you're doing. Not your secret sauce, not your trade secrets, but your competitors are probably the ones who are going to end up buying you. So make sure they know what it is you're doing. Social media may be valuable to you, maybe not. There are a lot of biotech companies in the region. Many of them don't have Twitter accounts or Facebook accounts or Google Plus accounts. It's just of no use to them. Totally understandable. A lot of companies really need that social media, need to get the word out through it. Find out the best way to do it. It's something that I know I have to improve on. Your story. As I said earlier, storytelling is becoming really a cornerstone of communication within the startup world. I'm going to be interviewing a guy called Mark Evans on Monday. He wrote a book called Storytelling for Startups. It's something that we all have to get better at. Don't brag, but don't sell yourself short. Your story is sort of a spice to add to the entree. Use it judiciously and with the greatest effect. You know, if you've done work as a medical mission in Africa, refer to it. Don't make it 4 minutes of a 10-minute pitch. I want to leave you just with final thoughts. That when you are communicating and you're looking for financing, as I said earlier, you're looking for equity or you're looking for credit. The root of these words is something that fascinates me. You have the misfortune of inviting a writer. You got to give me a bit of space. Equity comes from equitatem. It's Latin for equality, for fairness. It conceives the notion that people who have equity get a fair stake in the operation. Credit comes from credo credere. Again, it's Latin. It means to believe. And it's the idea that if I lend you money, if I extend credit to you, I believe that you're going to pay me back. Equity and credit are really the hallmarks of the financial system. I mean, everything else is just a derivation of the two of them. So I find it interesting that these two words that really sum up what the financial system of capitalism is all about. The foundation of them is fairness and trustworthiness. And when you are doing your communications, keep those in mind, because if you communicate fairness, credibility, then you'll be doing yourselves, your company, a great service. So that's it from me. Am I under 15 minutes, Bob?
You're darn. I think you're right on the money.
That's a fluke. I hope you'll join us tomorrow for the Entrevester Lunch sponsored by BDO. Please help yourselves to the quarterly reports, the Entrevester reports that we've got. Many thanks to Innovacorp for supporting us for 2 years now in those. Take as many as you want, put them in your office, give them as presents to your kids. And I'm here for questions.